I'm really excited today. We've got a special guest, Dr. Caleb Braddock. We're in a separate mastermind together, UAC, and this is where we talk about getting in the right rooms and being with high power players, people that are thinking just at a higher level. And I wanted to bring him on because, in the spirit of course, growing our current practices or businesses and creating additional streams of income and really expanding our influence, I think he's a great example of what's possible. And, many of us, anyway, we feel like we're meant to be on a bigger stage or we're trying to amplify our presence. It's great if you're helping somebody in your local business or your practice, but man, you've got all this potential and opportunity in the world that we live in to be able to expand and not just to expand and create more impact, but if you set systems up right, it can create a lot of passive income every single month from the standpoint. So again, I'm really excited to introduce him, and I'm going to read his formal bio so you can get an idea. He's been in practice for over 19 years, transforming lives through chiropractic care and spinal decompression, helping patients live happier, healthy lives without relying on drugs or surgery. As the founder of Braddock Chiropractic and Family Wellness, co-owner of Genesis Neck and Back, he's going to talk about that today. He's helped thousands upon thousands of patients achieve happier, healthier lives without relying on drugs and surgery. His unwavering commitment to innovative healthcare solutions has made him a respected leader, mentor, and speaker within the chiropractic profession. In terms of his entrepreneurial journey, in 2018, he partnered with Dr. Chad Glines to form Genesis Neck and Back, specializing in spinal decompression. He's going to talk more about that on today's call. And under the leadership, Genesis has grown to over 60 locations across 24 states, generating over 19 million in revenue in 2024. Dr. Braddock's passion for marketing, aesthetics, and innovation has been instrumental in the organization's exponential growth and ability to help patients who previously had limited success with different therapies. And that's just amazing. Caleb, thank you so much for taking the time out today, man. I really appreciate your knowledge, expertise, and I know you're going to drop some gems. So thank you very much.
Awesome, man. I'm esteemed to be here. Very cool group that you have. Enjoyed the time that we spent together in Atlanta at your last event was awesome. So
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm excited.
we attract a crowd very similar to yourself. And if you can give us some context and some backstory, I know you got a lot of insight and wisdom to share, but how did this all begin, in terms of chiropractic journey and then ultimately getting into the entrepreneurial side?
Yeah, so I started 19 years ago, graduated chiropractic school. I feel like I got some good mentorship. I still didn't really understand chiropractic, but I got out of there with a lot of principle, if you will. So I read all the green books. I wanted to see 1,000 people a week. I love chiropractic. I have a chiropractic family, a chiropractic lifestyle. It's the best, and I think everybody on the call probably agrees with all that. And so I get into practice and struggle, obviously, skin my knees like I think most people do. Uh, Start to do a little better, find a coach that really changed my life and really started to help me in a lot of areas. I think coaching and mentorship is paramount. And then as the years go on, start to be more successful and more successful and more successful. And then we started, me and a different friend started a coaching company. So we started, coaching other chiropractors. But I remember, and so all that was going good. Chiropractic's great. My office, we were seeing, my goal in life was always to see 1,000 people a week. I never got there. I think it was like 678 was our biggest week ever. Now I'm in a town of 3,500 on the population side, in the local town that I'm in. And so, we never got there, but I remember having a great team. Like my staff has always been awesome. We're really good at team building and structure. Systems and procedures are my favorite thing to talk about. And so we were doing good. And then I remember talking to a friend of mine. So I talked to certain friends, and you know, you're always comparing. I don't think that's healthy, but we all do it, especially entrepreneurs. And it's like, yeah, we're doing really good. Like we're at the top of the heap. We're doing okay. And then I talked to another friend, and when he told me what he was doing and what he was collecting, and he's one of my dearest friends to this day, he's incredible. Uh, I'd venture to say I don't know a single practice that is as big as his practice. What he's been able to do uh, financially, but when I heard what kind of money he was collecting, I remember talking to my wife. I know exactly what road I was on. I was on Highway 11 in Luella, Texas. And I'm talking to my wife, and I'm like, "What the hell am I supposed to do?" Like if I'm doing good and I'm at the top and I'm doing all this stuff, in order for me to double my income at that point in time, I realized I had to double the number of new patients or the number of patients I was seeing. And that did not, one, it didn't sound possible because I'm not sure that it was, but it also didn't sound appealing. So as I have grown, now I'm 43, I've got 4 kids at home. And so 1,000 people a week now does not sound as appealing as it did when I was 24 and I graduated. And so I was like, there's got to be a better way. And and so the friend that I was talking to was doing spinal decompression. And so I said, I'm gonna do this. Like I've got to figure this out. I can't just keep plugging away here forever because I felt a limitation and I felt the ceiling. And it's like, how am I ever going to get past that ceiling? And I think most of the people probably in the fam are, you have this divine discontent. I've had people go, "Oh, well, you're never going to be happy because you're never satisfied." I don't think that's true. I think that God puts a divine discontent, and I stole that from a friend of mine, that term. But it's like I was built for more. Like there is more. If I can achieve more, I'm going to do more. I'm going to be content while I'm doing it. Happy. I can achieve happiness while I'm doing it. But I know I can do more stuff. And so, long story short, when I talked to one of my best friends, he said, I learned all this, how to do the decompression side of this from Chad, who's my business partner and one of my best friends. And so I called Chad, and he's my best friend now. But then we graduated school together. I wanted to see 1,000 people a week. He only wanted to do spinal decompression. That was like sacrilegious to me. We were on totally, even though we were friends and we hung out, we were on totally different spectrums. And so I called Chad. I started talking to him, and long story short, we took all the things that Chad knows about the protocol we use for spinal decompression, how it works, the disc, the whole 9 yards, and then the things that I know about communication and marketing and aesthetic and procedures. And we married those things together and we started Genesis Back and Neck. And so, honestly, it was always just designed to be one clinic. We opened this clinic, a joint clinic, if you will, halfway in between my chiropractic office and Dr. Chad's original office. And so we were each about 30 minutes away in different directions. He would go there 6 or 8 hours a week, and I would go there 6 or 8 hours a week to do these consults, these decompression consults. And I started to look, and all of a sudden, my my side gig, my 6 to 8 hours a week, was starting to rival the income that I'm making in my baby, in this chiropractic office that I have fine tuned and spent all the hours and the coaching and the money and the investment. And then all of a sudden, within a couple of months, this thing is already rivaling some of that income. And that was like, how is this even possible? Obviously, I'm not here to talk all about spinal decompression, but it was congruent with the chiropractic principle. So it was easy for me to see and sell. And the person that I struggled to help the most in my chiropractic office was a disc patient. And so it just was like peanut butter and jelly. It just went together. And so we started that office and it went really well. And then not well, like immediately. We definitely had some edit, refine, edit, refine, edit, refine, and really started to hone in on the marketing aspect of it, number one, and then on all the procedures of how to get these people better. So they actually, we have a super high success rate. And then a friend said, "Hey, why don't we're having beers one night?" And my friend, he runs about a 600 or 700 people a week practice. He's like, "Why don't we partner and open up a Genesis Back and Neck inside of my already existing chiropractic office?" And we're like, "That's a terrible idea." And then we had a couple more beers and then we're like, "This is a great idea." And so we did it and it worked like gangbusters. It was almost immediately ROI, almost no overhead. Like it was insane. And so he obviously told a friend who told a friend who told a friend. And then now we're at 60 locations and either 24, 22 or 24 states. I can't remember, but we're at 60 locations now. I think that we'll double that this year. And it's just been incredible. We've never pitched a doctor. I'm not pitching anybody today. We don't, it's like, but it's just the good Lord just kind of keeps bringing the right people in our path. And it's been an incredible blessing as we've just kind of grow and grow and grow. And at the end of the day, we're helping people avoid drugs and surgery, which is what got us into this whole profession in the first place. and we're honest and we're ethical and we're straightforward with people, and we actually have the one thing that's going to help them avoid drugs and surgery if they're dealing with a disc. So
There's a that's wonderful. There's three things that I wanted to make mention though. So you have your mission and purpose, and this aligns with your mission and purpose. So you taking this beyond the four walls of your practice was just a no-brainer anyway, and it was totally congruent with your philosophy. And then somewhere along the line, like you were talking about comparing, I would kind of disagree about the comparisons. They can be absolutely unhealthy, but when we're together, we're talking about numbers and whatever. I think it's inspiring. Like, well, if Caleb can do that, I can do a tenth of what he's doing. I'm smart. I work my butt off. So I love doing the healthy comparison side of things. But you have also a great product too, right? Where you know that with minimal marketing, it's already quote sold itself in these doctors' offices. So, for example, I talk with so many doctors, especially in this group, where you've got great ideas, protocols, and systems that could potentially be integrated in other clinics, and there could be partnerships that are formed. So, again, this expands your impact, your influence, and your income. And I think that's brilliant. And the last thing I wanted to touch on when you said the limitation ceiling was you have to get brutally honest with yourself. So if you have a specific income goal, you're like, hey, I want to make 10 million a year, and you look at you're a solo practitioner right now. I'm not saying you can't do it in one chiropractic practice, but it is it would be very, very difficult to do that. So you have to think, does the vehicle that I have right now, will it get me to my goal? If not, how can I leverage and expand, whether it is through maybe multiple clinics or whether it is through buying businesses, real estate, or doing something like this? And this is not a franchise. It's just like it's a partnership, right? Is that
mhm. Yeah, it's not a franchise in the true sense of the word, but if we had Loop Chiropractic in Atlanta, Georgia, we would partner with you. We would create a new LLC in most states, and then we would have Genesis Back and Neck Atlanta,
Mhm.
and then it would be inside of Loop Chiropractic. 90% of the time, that's the way our model works.
Got it?
But
And
you're
now
right.
that,
I've
yeah.
done things in the past where it's like, okay, I've got a little bit of income on the side. I need to make some investments, make some moves outside of my chiropractic. And so I've lost my ass in the oil business twice. Like I realize I do not need to go in the oil business. One, because I'm not being able to use any of my skill set or my giftedness to do that. Like I know nothing about the oil business clearly, other than I buy gas in my car. That's it.
But you're from Texas.
I know everybody. We all have Longhorn cattle and are in the oil business, but other things that I did, it's like even in real estate, if I were and I do a lot in real estate as well, but it's like how do I use my skill set? Like whether you're a good communicator or whether you're amazing with numbers and charts and spreadsheets, or like somehow God's given you a giftedness. And so even if you branch out of chiropractic, I think you always try to stay in like how can I use my giftedness to get me to that next level, rather than just saying, okay, this guy says he'll start me an Amazon store, I'm just going to give him the money and hope it works out. It's like you're not using your gifts there.
Now, when it comes to actually your mathematical equation of how many clinics you want, whatever that goal is. I mean, you talked about just the referrals had happened because one person told a friend. Your story is kind of similar to mine in the fact that when I was doing MySpace way back in 2005, no one was doing social media for practice growth. Other docs were asking me, "Hey, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I showed them this," and I had to figure out like how do I put this information into a DVD or manual, which was a whole new world for me. I had no idea. And then once I did, it started selling online. I was running to the UPS store 5 to 10 times a day because I didn't know about drop shipping, and you learn all these lessons along the way, and then your secondary source of income starts to rival your primary, and you're like, wait a minute, if I could maybe help thousands of doctors reach millions more patients, that's pretty amazing too. So you're really expanding yourself. So did you actually have like a or right now do you have a goal per se? Like our goal is 500 clinics, or are you kind of still just running like we're getting all these referrals, or what's that momentum look like for you?
252 clinics is our goal.
Okay.
252 clinics. So our goal is to be at a million, or not at 100 clinics by the end of the year. And but we don't have, so that's just the goal, but we don't have a strategy for growth. Like You don't see my ads on Facebook. I'm not calling chiropractors in town saying, "Hey, we really want to be in your market." It's just right now it's all been brought to us. And so we're
Mhm.
just honestly we're trusting in that. I've getting the opportunity to speak at more places, and so people, if they have any interest, they may come and contact me. But other than that, it's like we can't say we're doing 9 new clinics a month based on these metrics because our cost per lead and our lead acquisition rate and our close rate. We're not really doing any of that. It's just like we're trusting because all the people that we're working with now, we're not working with any first year chiropractors. We're not working with anybody new. This is our business is really more for somebody that's 8 to 10 years into practice. They're already doing really great. They're running $1 million practice already. They're gifted communicators, and they're like, wait a second, I can use these skills that I've attained over all these years of practice to sell a commodity that I don't have to bend over the table to deliver, yet is congruent with my chiropractic beliefs, is
Mhm.
helping a different segment of the population that I'm currently helping, and it all fits under the same floor space and it's highly lucrative in terms of revenue. And so those are the guys that we're working with are the guys, some of the guys that were mentioned earlier. They're already really high level people. And so if we were advertising on Facebook for this personally, we would have to have a really severe vetting system
Application
uh,
process.
because chiropractors, as you know, a lot
Hmm.
of them are they're shiny ball. It's like nothing's
Hmm.
ever worked. I'm finally
Yeah.
searching for the one thing that works, and it's like, well, it's because you're not working, and you know,
Yeah, that you actually bring up a really good point, and this is applicable to any business, but it's about one, your ideal client avatar. Does $1 million
mhm.
per year, established chiropractor doing these numbers, and when you make somebody complete an application process, if you did decide to proactively market it, Google, Facebook, and really, really, try to double or triple and very quick, well, then you want to make people jump through more hoops and hurdles because if they do, especially now that you've got some brand awareness, with 60 clinics, the name is out there, right? If you make them jump through hoops and hurdles and then they complete an application, they're not automatically accepted into the program or the partnership. But then you can also vet a little bit more. We do that with our social media revenue summit events, my coaching, the masterminds, all this stuff. And if somebody's not willing to go through all those hoops and hurdles, they're not going to be your ideal client anyway. So I
Mhm.
think that was just a really good point that you brought up there. I wanted to ask you about the partnerships. So let's say somebody on here right now is getting some great ideas, like, I could take what I have up here and maybe I could start in my industry, or if it's a chiropractor or somebody else, that I could maybe start doing some partnerships. So now not necessarily consulting where I'm getting a piece one time, but I might be getting maybe 10% of the revenue, 15%. And if you don't mind me asking, what is your take on those? Like what percentage do you guys
Yeah.
take?
Yeah. So Chad and I obviously are 50-50 partners. We own Genesis together.
Hmm.
But if we partnered with Matthew Loop, then we would the essential model would be we generate however much income. Say we do 50 grand that month. We pay the overhead together because we're all in business together, which runs about 14,800 bucks on average.
Hmm.
And then the money that's left over, 75% of the profit goes to you, 25% of the profit goes to us.
Nice.
And so the way I would say it is like, when I first started this, I was like, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. I can do it. I can outwork everybody. I'll do it. But then it worked out where Chad and I became partners, and we've both of us have said a million times, if this was all just me, and I'd like to say I'm great, then we would have one Genesis clinic probably. And if it was all Chad, it would probably be one Genesis clinic. But both of us have a strength the other one doesn't have, and we work really well together. And so that synergy has allowed us to grow. And so I've always said that my 50% is much more with Chad than my 100% is by myself. And so that's been our mantra going into these offices. It's like our goal is to build so much value that the 75% that you're going to make with us, obviously
Mhm.
because we're doing all the marketing, driving all the patients, booking all your leads, is going to be way more than 100% that you would do on your own for most people. Now, I'm not saying somebody couldn't figure this out at some point, but I think it would take you 6 years to get to where we're at now, and we can get you there in 90 days.
Mhm. And also to your point, would you rather have 90% of a grape or 10% of a watermelon type of thing? To where the partnership, that can be tricky for some people. I've had partnerships in the past, and when I was young and naive, where you didn't set the expectations up front. What do you think's been the most so why has your partnership been successful? Because you guys complement each other, it sounds like one angle, but did you also be very clear in expectations at the start of it? Like how did that work?
I would say some of it is just the good Lord's provision or dumb luck, whatever you want to call it. But it's just worked out really well. I would love to sit here and go, we planned and we put 60 clinics on a vision board. We didn't. We just worked really hard at one clinic. But that thing, the proof of concept was so great that it demanded expansion. And so it happened for us more than it happened because of us. But Chad is he's honest and he's ethical. Like the guy he's never going to leave anything unsaid, and he's fair and honest and ethical. And I'm the same way. And then our strengths are entirely different, but we get along so well. And because I've had family members in the past when I was young do partnerships on all sorts of farms, real estate, whatever, and it almost always ended bad. Like you don't hear a lot of great partnership stories, but this I would consider a great partnership story. 6 years, I don't think we've ever had a disagreement, and we have both two totally different roles in running this thing, but it works really good. And then with all of our partners that we're working with, it's not like we don't get the poverty mentality.
Mhm.
Most of the guys that we're working with see this in about 30 minutes and they're like, I'm in. Like this is
Mhm.
I don't want to reinvent the wheel. I don't want to
Mhm.
have to go learn or test nine different things. It's like you tell me what to do and how to do it. And so it'd be like a Chick-fil-A franchise. We were talking about restaurants earlier, but if it's like, hey, this is how you make the chicken and this is how you attract the patients and this is how you run the drive-through. Chick-fil-A franchises don't fail because they do their research as we do before we open a location. And then those guys cook the recipe. No one's like, well, we're in New Mexico, so we're making Chick-fil-A chicken sandwiches and we're putting green chili on there. Even though that might be delicious, Chick-fil-A is like, no, we Chick-fil-A sandwich tastes the same no matter what state of you go in. And so we're really big on brand continuity and making
Mhm.
sure that people have an absolute amazing experience in any location with any doctor.
It sounds relatively simple with what you do. You're talking about you setting up an LLC, you're agreeing to a partnership of X percentage. You're very straightforward and transparent. This is what we provide. This is what you would provide. Am I missing something, or is that the business? Like that's it. That's it.
It's that simple. We don't make any money unless our partners make money. So it's not like a regular franchise. You're going to have startup costs and all that.
Hmm.
Then you're
Hmm.
going to pay a franchise fee monthly, whether you had a good month or a bad month.
Hmm.
Like whether you're doing good or you're struggling, whether your staff, you had to hire all new staff or whatever, you're going to pay that franchise fee. And with our partners, if they do good, we do good. And if they do good and we do good, the patients had to do good. And so there's nobody that can lose in the situation. It's win, win, win. And the model has just worked incredibly for us. So we've been able to help a lot of people doing it and help a lot of chiropractors. We've got one guy, I won't mention any names, but he's bought a lake house or he bought a lot on the lake and they're building a lake house right now. Another one of our partners just crossed $2 million in revenue with Genesis only, and they're buying their dream home. So he sent us photos, and these are good people doing good things, and to see them win and to see them hit goals and achieve things, it just gets us going. Like we just are nerds for this sort of stuff.
I love it. That's awesome. And what was I going to ask you? And by the way, if you have a question, just go ahead and unmute yourself and feel free to ask it. Caleb's dropping a lot of gems here. And really, again, I don't care what business or industry that you have. This is a model where you can take what you know, partner with other people, and create win-win scenarios. That's essentially what this is. You're introducing a protocol procedure that X business office doesn't have. That's a proven concept. You've got the best operating procedures, and you just drop it in there. And now, I mean, of course, now that you've got 60 clinics, I'm sure it's a lot easier to say, well, hey, we have 60 proof of concepts, so there's not like, but what would you say to somebody that's just starting out? They get a great idea from this training call, but they don't have the social proof and the backing of 60 clinics. So now maybe they have their own successful clinic in their own right. If let's say doc is doing something in pediatrics, for example, and he's got this protocol or technology or system, like what would you say to somebody that would like to kind of duplicate this model for their niche, but they're just starting out?
Well, not that we followed this, but one of my best friends is incredible marketer. She's amazing. But years ago, I think it was about 11 years ago, she reached out to me and she was like, "I I want to do the marketing, the social media marketing for your office." And we all get about 10 emails a week of somebody saying, "Could
Sure.
you handle 30 new patients a month?" Anyway, so I told her no. And but she had been a patient of mine in the past, a really amazing lady. And I was like, "No, nope, not interested." And then she kept bugging me to the point where finally she was like, "Hey, I'll do this for 1 month for free. And then I just need the numbers, the metrics to use you as a case study, but I'm going to do it for free." And she's so nice, and I couldn't turn her down because it's free. How do you turn down free? And there's no polite way to do that. And so she did it. And so I was typically in my little town, if I could see about 40 new patients a month, I was good. Like that was my 40 new patients a month, 10 a week. I'm okay. That first month that she did our marketing, we did like 119 new patients.
Mm.
So not just a little bit more, but way more than even double. And then it was like, holy cow. So the next month, I put her on a Zoom with 11 of my closest friends, and 10 of them signed up to do marketing with her that day. And so probably 9 of those are still with her. And now she runs an incredible agency. She's a coach for Russell Brunson. She's in the 2X Comma Club.
Mhm.
She's with Billie Jean Marketing. I mean, on the biggest stages in the world in terms of social media marketing. And it started, I was her very first client. And so she was willing, so I'm using her as kind of the example, but she was willing to say, "Hey, I believe so confidently in what I can do. Let me show you. I'm not even going to charge you." And when you do that for the right person, I'm a bit of a maven. If I believe in something, I love something, I tell all my friends about it. All my close friends, I tell. And so, that 1 month that she did for free led to her first 10 clients in 60
Hmm.
days. And they're all great chiropractors who obviously told other people. And now she has a multi-million-dollar marketing agency. And so I think that might be it. It's like go find the one person you really want to work with, even if you're not going to make any money off of them. If you can wow that one person, that might be the key to expansion. And the
100%.
the the friend that we put the first Genesis in, he's a maven too. And so he picked up the phone and he called a couple of people like, "This is unbelievable." And then it went from
And
there.
if you can get a testimonial from an industry influencer, for example, somebody that is well connected, that is, I mean, that's priceless in and of itself because now you've got that the the borrowed credibility from the endorsement. So that's
Yeah.
that's that's great.